Now I'd like to introduce you to our presenters. The program for today we're going to start with what is business administration. And for that, we have on hand our program director for business administration, Frank Belschak.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, thanks for being here, Frank. Frank. Which do you prefer?
Frank is fine. Frank,
okay. Yeah, in Dutch, I do the accent, and then in English, I realized, yeah, Frank makes more sense. So, what is business administration? So that's the program and how it's built up. And Frank, being one of the architects who designed the program, is the perfect person to tell us all about it. After we hear about business administration in the program, we're going to move on to the application and selection process. And Ava van Alphen from the admissions office is here to tell us about that. Yeah. Hi, Ava.
Hello.
Good to see you. After we hear from Ava with, answers to many of your questions, I know, we will move on to two of our current students who can tell you about their experience so far as business administration students. We will have Sachi speak first. Hi, Sachi.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. And then she'll be followed by Brent.
Hello.
Thanks, Brent, for being here, and Sachi, and everyone, of course. And now, before I hand it over to Frank, just one last reminder. Any questions you have, put them in the chat. We will either answer them in the chat, and we'll take a few questions that you've sent in to also ask Frank live after his talk. All right, take it away, Frank.
Okay, welcome everybody again. So I'm glad that you made it today. And my name is Frank Belschak. I'm the program director of the Bachelor's in Business Administration, and I work at the Amsterdam Business School as a professor of leadership and change. So you found your way here and you're wondering maybe what is business administration? You may have some ideas, some associations about, yeah, it's all about money. Maybe you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street and stuff like that, cool manager, but what is it really? Well, I try to explain you now in maybe 2 minutes. So business administration is about governing an organization, managing an organization. What does that mean? An organization could be anything. So it could be a company, a for-profit organization, like a big bank, like a Deutsche Bank. So I'm German, so this is maybe why I had the association immediately of Deutsche Bank. Or it could be Unilever as a big multinational company, but it could be also smaller companies. It can be a governmental organization like ministries, but it can also be non-profit organizations like Greenpeace. So basically, everywhere where you need to manage, let's say, an organization in a professional way, this is when business administration comes into play. So what does it cover? Basically, all elements that are important and play a role for managing your company properly, or an organization, if you will. So that starts out with stuff like, where do I get my money from? So I have some grand ideas, but yeah, they cost money. Where do I find money? So investment, finance. How do I spend my money? If I have several projects, which one should I choose? How do I find the adequate people? How can I recruit them? How do I know whether they're capable and skilled or not, whether they fit with my company or not? So human resource management. Who are my customers? Who are my competitors? What is the legal space that I have within which I can act? How do I reach my customers? How can I sell my product? So marketing, strategy. So all of these questions are part of business administration. So it's pretty interesting. You will get in touch with a whole lot of different topics, and all of those are needed to run your company effectively. You see there Google on the screen, so maybe let's make it even more concrete. What does that mean for Google? Because Google, yeah, also hires tons of people from business administration. So Google, maybe you know the internet search engine. Once you switch on your browser, most likely you have pre-installed Google as a search engine. Then Google also owns the web browser Chrome. It's also the owner of the Android operation system that is operating on most non-iPhones, but also on a lot of computers. And it's also the owner of YouTube. I think they bought it in 2006. So pretty big company that includes a lot of different things. And let's grab just one of them, for instance, the Chrome web browser. Yeah, well, maybe you know other web browsers like Microsoft Edge. Before it was Microsoft Explorer, that wasn't continued. Now it's called Microsoft Edge, but also maybe Mozilla, Firefox. So the question is, how do you get customers, computer users to use your machine, your search engine, rather than all those other search engines? Is it worthwhile competing with the others? For instance, Microsoft Edge. Well, it's pre-installed with every Office package, with every Windows machine. So it's difficult. Is it worth the effort, or should you just drop out from that market? And should you go to the stock market? You need money, but is the stock market a really wise idea? Should you hand out shares of your company? What are the pros and cons? And maybe you remember Elon Musk from Tesla was complaining about, he also went to the stock market, has given out shares, and at a certain moment he was complaining that the shareholders were having too much power over him and determining the course of his company, and he wanted to buy back all of his shares with a famous Arabian prince. So it has pros and cons. And another topic would be for Google, especially, how do you find the capable and very scarce IT people that are really sought after at the moment, especially, for instance, in artificial intelligence? Because, yeah, what Google does is also collecting data. Most of the services are for free. So how do they make money? They make money by collecting your data and connecting the data to each other and selling it then to companies. For that, you need data analysts, you need artificial intelligence people. So how to keep them happy, how to keep them at Google. And they do a lot of efforts to attract those people and to keep it appealing to them and to keep them happy and motivated. So these are all questions that are addressed and answered in business administration. So you see, a very versatile and diverse study. So maybe now we can move over to the program, now that we have a basic idea what business administration is. So the program, like all of the bachelor's programs in the Netherlands, consists of 3 years. And it's an English language program. This is also why we're talking English here and why we have so many international students. So it's a fully English taught program. And in the first year, we build up some foundations, because business administration is a multidisciplinary study, which basically means you have a problem from the business area and you want to solve it. And to solve it, you grab whatever is needed, whatever gives you the best answer. And it could be sometimes that it's a mathematical problem, if you're talking about finance, for instance. But it could also be that it's a psychological problem. For instance, how should I make my advertisement? How should I make a video in YouTube? So we are including different disciplines in the first foundational year. And there we said that we build strongly on 4 pillars, and these are methods, people, economy, and organization. So organization would be really business administration, core topics like strategy. Economy, well, you see, this is economics, like, for instance, supply and demand and whether they meet, and this is how the price should be determined. People would be the social science, or let's say psychological side. And methods would be, it's a study, it's an empirical study, so there are also research methods, but also the mathematics side is part of that. And those are all needed to answer and solve business administration questions. Well, this is what you learn in the first year in different courses like organizational behavior or statistics or economics or strategy and organization. And then the second year, you move over to topics that you could probably best describe as kind of the departments of an organization. So something like finance, operations, marketing, accounting. So in these topics, you will apply the 4 pillars that you have learned to solve questions in the different functional areas. So to solve marketing questions, operations questions, finance questions, and so on. That's the first half of the second year. In the second half of the second year, it becomes even more complicated. Then we're touching issues or topics that are integrating different functional areas. So for instance, data management. Data management is, yeah, you have data regarding your personnel, you have data regarding your customers, you have data about your money streams, and all of those data. So there is something like marketing, finance, HR, and all of the data has to be managed. And the same goes for laws. You have laws about your contracts with your people, you have legislation there, you have laws about building monopolies and stuff, you have laws in the finance area, for instance, about taxes, you have publication laws, accounting. So all of those things have to be learned. So we build slowly up and we get more and more complicated. This is then the second year. And after that, you should have a broad overview of more or less all of the topics that are part of business administration, which is good because it gives us some freedom in the third year. And that freedom is our presence to you. So we basically give it to you and let you decide how you fill in your third year. What does that mean more concretely? Well, in the first semester, you have the chance to broaden your horizon. So look a little, expand your horizon, look a little bit further than just business administration if you want to. What does that mean? Well, that means first, you could study abroad. So the first semester of year 3, you could go to another university internationally. So the UvA, University of Amsterdam, is a big university which has exchange partner universities in over 100 different countries worldwide. At the moment with the COVID-19, it's a bit of an issue. Mostly it's virtual exchanges, unfortunately, but be assured that once you're in year 3, the world will be your oyster again and you can travel more or less freely, I suppose, which means you could spend half a year in, I don't know, America, China, London, wherever, Barcelona, whatever you like to do. Next option is a minor. A minor is basically kind of a mini program of half a year, which gives you an overview on an area, which is different to your bachelor's program. So you're doing business administration, but maybe your passion was always art history or programming. What you could do then is spend your first semester of year 3 on a minor program in informatics or in art history and learn something on full half year, 5 different courses on your topic of choice so that you know a little bit more and that you have a little bit broader academic education. Last option, well, probably all of us have heard the stories. There was this guy or lady who has finished the studies and great marks, but then applied and got to hear like, yeah, but there's no practical experience. You know, you're good at university, but are you also good in practice? We don't know. So why don't you start out with an internship at our company? Well, if you want to avoid that experience, you could also include an internship already in your study. So once you're done and you graduated, what you then can do is immediately start straight away and you have theoretical as well as practical experience. So those are your 3 options in the first semester. Either go international or broaden your horizon and do something else or gather practical experience in an internship. And now we can go to the second semester. Well, you've heard it all in the first 2 years, all different topics came by. And that means that you know a little bit also what you like best, what you find most interesting. Is it a little bit accounting? Is it finance? Is it setting up your own business, creativity, innovation? Or is it more the general management like marketing, strategy, human resource management? Well, now is your chance to play in on those preferences and focus on those areas. So in the second semester, you have to focus in one out of those 4 areas. So the first one would be accounting and control. So accounting and control would be budgeting and bookkeeping. So basically, companies have to publish certain information like profit and loss balances. So there is some legislation telling you the bigger you are, the more you need to publish. And there are certain rules about that. And you need accountants for that. What you also need accountants for is to keep track of all the money streams in your company. So how high are your profits? How high are your costs? Where do your costs come from? How expensive is actually every product for you to produce? So it's very important, these controlling issues. So this is all part of accounting. Then you have entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity. Well, entrepreneurship, setting up your own business, okay, but you can also be entrepreneurial in your own company. So then it's more related to taking ownership of projects and being innovative. And then it's called corporate entrepreneurship, or sometimes intrapreneurship. And you can see that in a whole lot of job advertisements, companies ask for people who are entrepreneurial. So it's a common feature that is required, not only for setting up your own business, but also for working in other companies. What is also part there is, for instance, digital business models, because nowadays a lot of the companies that you set up are digital companies, or mainly digital companies, or have a strong digital component, like a web portal, and a lot of sales goes online. Finance. So finance is very easy. Finance is about getting money in. So that's the finance part. How can you finance yourself? And about how do you spend your money? So that's investment. And this is, you have different options how to finance your company. You can borrow money from the bank. You can borrow money from the money markets. You can hand out shares. All of those options have advantages and disadvantages. What is your best option here, and how to spend your money most wisely? And sometimes those two things are linked to each other, that certain finance models only work in combination with certain investment projects, and then it becomes a slightly more complicated problem. And to make it even more complicated, there's also a risk component, because quite often the most profitable projects are also the ones that come with the highest risk. And then it gets down to an optimization problem. You can calculate mathematically, for instance, an optimum level between risk and profits. So this is basically finance. It's finance, investment, and risk management. And then we get to management. Management is what probably most people, if you say like, here, I'm in management or I'm managing something, then most of the time what you refer to is you're doing stuff like more or less managing your people, or managing customers, so marketing, or managing strategy. So those are the main topics: strategy, marketing, human resources, and international management, international business. So those are the topics of management. What I didn't mention is, obviously, you see it in the last one, maybe a little bit management in the digital age. All of those 4 specializations are also tailored towards the era that we're living in at the moment. It's the age of digitalization. We all have a digital life, and you can see it here. We're on Zoom, so there's no way to escape that. So we have to talk about it. So in accounting, it's about accounting information systems. In entrepreneurship, it's about digital business models. In management, we have then something like digital technologies and marketing. So how to use AI, for instance, to do marketing research, and how to do advertisement nowadays. It's not done via the tube anymore, via television, but on YouTube channels and stuff, social media, you name it. So all of the specialization play in on those new trends. And this is a little bit what the problem looks like in a nutshell. So now we move over. This is the bachelor's program. This is what you will mainly get to see. But then the question is, what comes then? And based on your specialization, you may end up in different positions. So most likely, though, before that, you're going to do a master. At least in the Netherlands, it's pretty normal, let's say, to do a master's after the bachelor's. Unlike the UK or the US, most of the time you don't immediately enter the job market after your bachelor's, but you rather go first for a master's. And of course, we as a university also offer all kind of master's program in the area of business administration. So finance, accounting, controlling, entrepreneurship, business administration, different tracks in business administration, like digital business, leadership and management, international business, marketing, strategy, digital marketing. All of those tracks are offered by us. And you can see here some examples of what you could do later on as a function. But maybe it's a little bit more speaking to take a look, where do our graduates end up? And that's on the next slide. So here you can see the top 15. So basically what that means is which companies hired a lot of our graduates. And here you see a little bit of the icons there, where they ended up. big chunks of our people. And what you can see there as a pattern is that the big consultancies and accounting offices, they tend to hire a lot of our graduates. So you see Ernst & Young, you see Deloitte, you see KPMG, you see PricewaterhouseCoopers, you see Accenture. So they are drawing heavily on our graduates. But you also see big multinationals, Dutch multinationals, or well, partially Dutch multinationals. So like Shell, like Philips, like Ahold Delhaize, or let me see it, Unilever. Couldn't see it, it was hidden under the small pictures of Zoom. So I had to move them away for a sec. And banks, basically all big banking houses in the Netherlands hire our people. Then especially obviously from a finance background, but also from a general management background, because strategy, also banks need strategy and marketing, right? And HR. So Rabobank, ING Bank, ABN AMRO Bank. And what you also see then is what is still left is, well, the region of Amsterdam. Some people stick around because this is what I said in the beginning. It's broader than just the for-profit companies. You can see governmental organizations like the City of Amsterdam, but also the tax office and higher educational institutions like the Hogeschool of Amsterdam. They're also hiring a huge chunk of our graduates. So this is a little bit where our current alumni come from or ended up in. And now maybe for, let's say, you could say it's kind of an FAQ, frequently asked questions, because we've done that for quite some time, this information sessions, and some of the questions always come up, and usually they are labeled, what's the difference? Yeah, and 3 of those differences are probably interesting to mention upfront, because most likely, almost 99%, they would come up else in the chat. So the first difference that I would like to clarify is, what's the difference between business administration and international business administration? So our program is called business administration. But if you grab, for instance, Tilburg, or if you grab Rotterdam School of Management, they have programs in international business administration. Where's the difference to our program? Well, I would say there is not a huge difference. Our perspective, our take on business administration is that you can't do it nationally. I mean, we are the Netherlands here. This is a small country. You can't survive by doing national business. So something is always international, either your customers or your suppliers or your personnel. It's a very international city, Amsterdam, and the whole of the Netherlands you get away with. You get, I mean, English is a working language everywhere. I mean, even in the smallest village, if you go to a small shop and you want to buy a package of chewing gums, you can order that in English and buy it in English. So, I mean, it is business administration naturally with a global village is international. So therefore, it didn't even come up in our mind to call it international business administration. But if we take a look at the components of our program, it's a fully English language program. We have international lecturers and a student body of more than 50% international students. We have international courses and course materials. We have even explicit courses covering international issues, like one on international business, one on international management. All other courses like marketing cover internationalization issues. We have an exchange program in which you could participate for half a year. So basically, we have all the components of an international business administration program, but we didn't call it that way. So which basically means there is no difference between BA and IBA, I would argue. So next difference. What is also quite popular is, okay, what's the difference between your program and the international BA program, International Business Administration program at Rotterdam School of Management at Rotterdam, or at the VU, the Free University, another university situated in the center of Amsterdam. A little bit less in the center, but still probably in the center. So first thing I should probably say is that all Dutch universities are good. So there is no bad university in the Netherlands. In terms of quality, they're all relatively close to each other. Sure, you have rankings, and we happen to score very good in the rankings, but others who score less good on the ranking, are they less good university? I wouldn't really go so far because the differences, even though you might feel like, yeah, ranking 50 compared to ranking 200, but in the first 200 ranks, the difference are only marginal. So you basically can't go wrong. So what's then the main selling point? Why would you go to Amsterdam? Well, first thing is Amsterdam. Hey, Amsterdam is cool, right? So this is where things are going to happen culturally, but also in terms of business life. It's the most international city in the Netherlands. So it is great. Secondly, our program, if you take a look at it and you like look at the details, what we're offering you is a lot of freedom. So the whole third year, you can tailor up to your own preferences. And this is a unique feature. Other universities, of course, they give you electives, but you're way more limited in terms of what you can choose from and how many choices you have. So it's maybe then in half a year, choose 3 out of the 10 courses, and the other 7 are compulsory, and we give you the whole year to choose from. And else you can see also certain preferences in terms of topics. And this is mostly based on the region where you're situated. So take a look, for instance, at Rotterdam. Rotterdam has the harbor. The harbor is a big thing there, and the harbor hires a lot of people there. So the university plays in on that. You get a lot of supply chain management, logistics and stuff, which is important for the harbor, but less so for Amsterdam, because what we have here is more digital firms, consultancies, we have banking. So what we are focusing on, therefore, are other topics. So we have seen that business ethics is an important issue. We've seen the banking crisis here, which has led to a big national crisis. You've seen sustainability became more important. You have the sustainability goals. So business ethics is a more important issue. And actually, we're in the top 10% of universities in the whole of Europe regarding our research in the area of business ethics. So we start out, for instance, with the moral limit of markets already in the first course, Principles of Economics and Business. And in the law course, we also include business ethics components. So those components come up on a regular basis. Digital business, another module in our Principles of Economics and Business, would be digital business models. You've heard it also in the specialization, digital business models came up. You see also digital business in the elective spec. We have a whole minor program also on data science and data analytics. We have also on business analytics in elective that you can choose. So, and entrepreneurship is a little bit the same thing. So we have a whole minor in which you learn how to set up your whole business. We have courses on innovation management. We have a whole specialization in the area of entrepreneurship. So if you would ask me, what are the more specific features of our program? I would say that, of course, this is a general program in business administration that covers all topics of business administration, but we particularly focus on those 3 areas. So that's a little bit, what should you choose? So I would say, take a look at the programs and choose the one that you find most attractive. And now for the last one. What's the difference? Business administration and business economics. So business economics is something that I didn't know being German. In Germany, we only have business administration and economics, and now you have a third something in between here, which is called business economics. Business economics is indeed somewhat in between business administration and business economics, and it covers mostly a subpart of business administration, and mostly then focusing on the more analytic parts of business administration, or if you want, in a nutshell, more the parts that focus on mathematics. And wait a sec, you've heard my telephone ringing. So that's the advantage of home office.
Hi, I can take over for Frank for just a minute. So we offer another bachelor's program, Economics and Business Economics, and Business Administration versus Business Economics. Well, yes. I'll let you pick it back up, Frank.
I am. See, this is the thing with home office. You always think that you have done everything, but there's always something that you forgot. So nowadays, nobody seems to use it anymore, me neither. So I never use my home office, my home line here, my telephone. But it is actually still there. Almost never anybody calls, but now somebody did. What does that mean? Business economics basically mostly covers in a nutshell the financial and accounting parts. That means it's more analytical. So there is overlap with business administration. So accounting and finance is part both of business economics and of business administration, but it's only a small part of the study. So roughly, let's say a quarter. And the question is then, what is the rest of the study? And in business economics, the rest of the study is economics. And in business administration, the rest of the study is business administration. So the whole managerial chunk, like management, marketing, strategy, human resources, innovation, entrepreneurship, is all business administration and only part of business administration. In business economics, what you get is, okay, you also get the accounting and finance, but other than that, you get macroeconomics, microeconomics, but no management. So no business administration. So it's therefore more limited, more focused, limited in the sense that it's more focused on the analytical parts. So it's a matter of preferences. What are you interested in? Are you more interested in the broader picture, more managerial, multidisciplinary, or would you like to work in a more focused field, which is more closely related to economics and the number side with finance and accounting? And I think that was it, right?
Yes, well done. Thank you, Frank, for the explanation about the program and its design and its build up, and also some of those differences. And we have a few questions that streamed in that I thought I could ask you about. Let's see. Well, one question that came up was how have we dealt with COVID and how has the program changed in its format?
Yeah, well, currently the situation in the Netherlands is that there is a lockdown, which basically means that student activities on campus are forbidden. That has been the case since half December. So that means that we had to switch to online education, which we, by the way, did immediately when COVID came up in April 2020 already. We have started to offer all our programs online. The idea was we mustn't lose any time. Students need to be able to continue without losing time with their studies. And as we have a very international student body, the only way basically to do it was to go fully online. So that basically means the lecturing component, which is lectures, bigger scale lectures, and smaller scale tutorials, they are all offered online, either in terms of videos or bigger sessions like this one, but also smaller tutorials with groups of 30 that are offered in Zoom, then with cameras and the opportunity to discuss and to talk. So you try to play in on that and do all kind of components online, which works to some extent. But yeah, what you do miss is, of course, the personal contact. We try to accommodate that a little bit and try to schedule when it was still allowed some online, some on-campus activities to a small extent, because it's difficult to also keep the distance rules, the 1.5 meter distance rules, if you have bigger groups. But with the lockdown, that also had to stop. But now with the vaccines that are coming up, I'm pretty comfortable with the prediction that in September we will be back on the campus. So what might happen is that if it's still a problem, we might start out in the first period with maybe some hybrid designs for those who are in Amsterdam. They could join stuff on campus. If we still have to take care of keeping a distance of 1.5 meters, then we might have some capacity issues, and we can only offer it to a limited number of students on campus and the rest then online. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's pretty safe to say that in 2022, so that some way down the first semester, we will be all back on campus again. So our intention, at least, is the moment that we're allowed to, we're back on the campus. So we will expect also our future students to come to Amsterdam. Of course, as long as it's not possible, we stay online, but the moment that we can, we are immediately going to go back to the campus.
Okay, yeah, sounds good to know. Yeah, it will be nice to have the campus bustling again. let's see. And then now there were a couple of questions over about the third year. In third year semester one, there were a couple of questions, especially about studying abroad and internships. One question about that was, is it possible to do an internship while studying abroad? Or can you do an internship abroad, actually, was the question.
Well, the short answer, yes, you can. But it gets a little bit more complicated because next to the internship or after the internship, you have to also do some courses. And that may complicate matters a little bit, but it all depends. So the general answer is no, they're not mutually exclusive, but you have to plan a little bit ahead to make it possible.
Sounds good. And that's a good advertisement for us, the study advisors. You can always come and talk to us if you want to make something like that happen, because indeed it's not, you have to take some electives, you need to complete your elective space. You can't just do the internship. So with careful planning, you can make it happen. And we're happy to help with that. And another question was, what do you study while on exchange?
Anything. So the idea is we're not going to limit you to topics that are related necessarily to business and or economics, because the idea is you should broaden your horizon. So anything goes. So we give you also the opportunity to go for minor programs that are completely out of the business area here in Amsterdam. So why would you limit you when you go abroad? So basically you can pick any courses that are offered for exchange students at your guest university.
Very exciting. A lot of possibility there then.
Exactly.
And if a student stays here in Amsterdam and does an internship, they were curious, will they be paid for that internship?
That not by us.
Or can they earn a salary for their internship, they were wondering, or would they?
Well, that depends a little bit. So I don't think that they call it salary, but some people offer a financial compensation just to send out a signal that it's not really a salary, so you're not going to get filthy rich by doing an internship, but most companies give you some kind of financial compensation for it, just to cover something like traveling expenses or lunches that you would have to buy when you're working there or something. But it's not really a lot, and it really varies by company.
Okay, well, good to know. And then moving on to the third year semester two and the specializations, one student said that they're interested in going into human resources, and they were wondering if there was a specialization that's better suited for that, particularly management or entrepreneurship. Do you have any advice on that matter?
Yes. So I guess relatively clear answer would be management. Because management incorporates then marketing management, strategic management, international management, and HR management. So it's called leadership and management in the digital age, but this is then basically what would be most interesting for you if you're interested in the, let's say, people side. Okay.
Good. That's a nice, clear answer. I thought it would be you could do both, or but actually that makes sense. Let's see. And then the last question I wanted to finish with is, so after you finish your bachelor's and you graduate, one person was asking, is the University of Amsterdam's business administration program internationally recognized, especially thinking about their career prospects, and will it help them to get hired, around the world?
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention, we're Triple Crown accredited. Yay! So indeed, all of our degrees are internationally acknowledged, so they count the same. So if you want to go to the US, it's not a problem. They recognize our bachelor degrees, and you can get into a master's program there.
Okay. And I think you said this in the slides, a lot of our students do a master's program before going on to their career anyhow, right? So it's I think you said before 75% or so after graduating from the bachelor's program do a master's, which they can do with us or elsewhere. But
It really depends, obviously, on the country where you are. For instance, in the UK, it's pretty common to immediately start working after your bachelor's, and only a minority of people would continue straight away with master's degree. But in the Netherlands, the default value would be to continue with your master's. It would be pretty uncommon. But of course, I mean, if you got an interesting job offer, well, just try it. But chances are relatively high that to get to hear from future employers that they might tell you that, yeah, sure, do your master's and come back.
Okay, that's a good point. And then I guess also that makes me think about the difference. For example, in the US, the bachelor's program is a 4-year program, and here it's 3 years. And in the US, the master's is often 2 years, and here it's 1 year. So in 4 years, I could get a bachelor's in the United States, and I could get a bachelor's and a master's here. So
good deal, huh?
Yeah, good value for my money. All right, thank you. I think that was all the questions I was going to ask you live. And then, yeah, thank you very much for all the details about the program.
Thanks, it was my pleasure.
Ava, maybe we can ask you to join us now and tell us about how to get into this wonderful program.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, which I will try to answer for you. So the business administration program has a numerous fixes. I already saw a question about that in the Q&A section. Basically, that means that we have a maximum amount of 750 students that can enroll in the program. So basically, the program used to be so popular that it got way too big, and we decided to put a cap on it. So we accept 750 students now. And in order to be admitted into this program, you need to meet the entry requirements, and you also need to participate in a selection procedure so that we can choose which 750 people will get in. This might sound a bit scary, but in the past years, we were able to offer a place to everybody in the program who wanted to actually start. So the deadline to apply for the 2021 start of the program, so for the upcoming September, has already passed because it's a selective program. We start quite early. However, I will still introduce to you already what the application and selection procedure for 2022 will look like, so you know what to do. So the first thing is that it's very important to check the entry requirements on our website. To be able to register yourself for this program, you need a Dutch diploma, a diploma which is equivalent to the Dutch VWO. You need a mathematics proficiency and English proficiency. And all the specific requirements for diplomas from all over the world and for the English and mathematics requirements can be found on our website under admission, enrollment and selection. So I saw a few questions, for example, about an IB diploma, stuff like that. Everything, all detailed information about how to meet the entry requirements can be found on our website. You can start your online application for the program in October. So that's still quite far away. Make sure to keep an eye on the website around that time, because we will update it then with the new admissions requirements and everything you need to know about the selection. So that way you will see exactly what you need to submit in order to apply. And then after you've done that and you handed in your documents and everything, you need to follow our selection procedure. And of course, the details aren't set in stone yet because it's quite far away still. But what we can tell you now is that at least the selection procedure will consist of basically a selection test. And that is the only thing we will look at. At the moment, the test covers 3 subjects, and that is mathematics, economics, and strategy and organization. And to prepare, you will get access to an online preparation module that will help you, and you can watch some lectures there, read the material, do some practice questions, and it will help you prepare for the test completely. Then if you finish your selection test, you get a ranking number. And the ranking number is what ultimately decides your place in the program. So all students are ranked based on the score of their selection test. The best student gets number 1, the next number 2, and so on until we are at the final number that is given out. Number 1 until 750 get a place in the program straight away. And if your number is higher, so 751 and so on, you will be placed on a waiting list. And just to give you an idea, the waiting list shortens really quickly. We have had students, of course, who apply to different universities as well. So they apply for Amsterdam and Rotterdam, or they apply for universities in the Netherlands and in other countries, and they decide to go somewhere else, which is logical. That happens. So that means that a lot of people who get a place in the program decide not to come, and then they give their place to the next person on the waiting list. So last year, for example, we have been able to offer everybody who was on the waiting list and who wanted to start with us a place in the program. You just have to be a little bit more patient. So I saw a question about that from somebody who said that they thought that maybe they didn't do the selection test so well. Still, stay on the waiting list. You have a really big chance of just getting in. I think that's it for now, unless there's more questions for me.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, I was going through the questions, and I do see admissions related questions, but they tend to be more about, things that are specific to certain students. I'm not seeing a whole bunch that, make sense to ask in this plenary form. But I think that, the one question everyone has to, at the base of it all is, what are my chances of getting in? And you spoke to it a little bit just now, but I don't know if you could say more about that.
Well, to give you an idea, I always see it like some kind of funnel. So we start with a lot of students who apply for the program in StudyLink, which is always the first step, which will be explained thoroughly on the website. But then you also have to send in some documents, and you have to select a test date, and you have to study for a test. So if you are really, if you really want to, and you're very committed to start, then like the funnel already gets smaller. And in the end, I would say like more than double the amount of places. So let's say around 1,500, 1,600 people will take the selection test, but then already some think, well, this wasn't really for me anyway, I will cancel my place. So in the end, we will end up, I think, around 750 students that start. So yeah, so far your chances are, if you really want this, then you will get in, but sometimes you just have to be a bit patient. That's it.
That makes sense. And that's reassuring to hear that even though there might be a lot of people who start, if you actually really are interested, you really think this program is something that you would enjoy, it makes sense to apply and take all the steps, because we can't predict what the numbers will be in future years, but so far people have always had a very strong chance. If they meet the entry requirements and they take all the steps, they actually have a quite high chance, a high percentage chance of being admitted and starting with this. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
I think that is, I see another question about, will you need a letter of recommendation? No, is the answer. You do not need a letter of recommendation.
Okay.
So it's what we focus on is your diploma. We want to see your the courses you take as your final subjects for your exams. We want to see that your English is of a good enough level, that your mathematics, that you have a certain skill in mathematics, and you have to take the selection test. We do not look at motivation letters. We do not look at recommendation letters. So yeah, that's not needed.
Okay, well, great. I think that clears up the admissions questions for now. And the message sounds like, if you like the program and you think you want to do it, apply. Well, starting in October.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Exactly.
And now we're going to hand it over to our students, to Sachi to begin with. Hi, Sachi.
Hi, yes. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here and share my student life experience with you. So I'm from India. You might wonder, why did I choose to come to study in Amsterdam? Well, I'd actually come to the Netherlands as part of my high school student exchange program, and I absolutely loved the Dutch culture. People here are so accepting, and Amsterdam as a city is super international. So I thought I would easily fit in. Why did I choose to study at the UvA? Well, I was looking for a university where the educational facilities would be top notch. And the fact that UvA is in top 100 universities worldwide assured me that this would be the case. Secondly, I wanted to surround myself near diverse people. And in my program, we have people from over 35 nationalities. And I think it really helps to meet people from different countries, hear different perspectives, and get to know different cultures. So I've really seen myself grow as a person surrounded in this international atmosphere. And finally, I believe in a holistic approach in life. So combining academics with extracurricular activities. And here we have so many student associations that you can be a part of. We have our own cultural center where you can take up courses in photography, dancing, music, anything and everything you like. I chose to study business administration because I was really passionate to learn how high growth, successful businesses are actually built and what strategies are used. And I absolutely love how this program itself is designed. So in the first 2 years, you get exposed to a wide variety of subjects. And then in your final semester, you choose what you like the most and you can specialize in that. So it gives you the flexibility to design the program the way you like. And the highlight, of course, is the third year, first semester, where you can go on an exchange. Imagine studying in New York, Sydney, or London for a semester. Or you can do an internship. I personally did an internship, and I must say it was such a value-adding experience to apply the knowledge and skills that I learned in class into real-life setting, and of course, build my network. And of course, you can also do a minor either at this faculty or any other faculty. So I have to be honest, I absolutely love studying here, and it was one of the best decisions I made. With that, I would like to hand over to my friend Brent, who will share his experience with you.
Yes, thank you, Sachi. Hello, everyone. I am Brent, and I'm in my third year of the business administration program at the University of Amsterdam. And I remember that I was sitting here 3 years ago as well, just like you, of course, not behind a computer screen. And for me, it was already quite clear that I wanted to study business administration, but I just wasn't really sure at which university to do it. So I will just shortly talk about why I really like it here at the University of Amsterdam. And this is mainly because of all the practical things you're going to do and the projects. So I think a lot of you might think that the university is just only about theory, because that's what I thought as well at the beginning. However, the nice thing at the University of Amsterdam is that you're also going to do a lot of practical things. So for example, in the first year, you're already going to a real business to solve a business problem. So you can go to a very big company like Shell or a very small startup company. And this is already very nice that you go directly into the field. You're already meeting business people. And this is also the first possibility to do some networking, for example. But also, for example, for the course finance, you're going to solve real business problems. So with all the theory you just learned, you're going to apply it to questions that real businesses also have. So for example, is this investment really worth it? So are we going to spend money on this investment? Or can we just better place all our money on the bank because it's just safe in a bank? And also, for example, for a course in marketing, you have to choose with your team a certain enterprise or existing company, and you're going to sort of design a new product for this company and introduce it to the market. So what did we do? For example, we chose Nike, or some of you may call it Nike, and we developed smart shoes. So that are shoes with self-tying laces, for example, but also an heat regulator. So if you come up with your whole new product, you're going to learn or apply all the theory you just learned to your specific product. So for example, you're going to ask questions. What is my target group? So are we going to target very old people? Well, probably that is not very smart with smart shoes. So maybe you just want to target students. But also questions such as, how are we going to advertise our product? Are we going to hire very big billboards at the airport, or are we just going to use Facebook advertisements? So the nice thing is that you do not only learn the theory at the University of Amsterdam, but also really applying all this theory you just learned into practice. And now I think we're going to move on with the Q&A session with Audrey again.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Sachi. It's so great to hear, yeah, about why you chose the UvA and your experiences here since you've arrived. And actually, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. Finn asked the question, and I'll ask both of you this now. We'll start with you, Sachi, and then ask you, Brent. Finn was wondering if you both could say something about studying in Amsterdam. Do you find it affordable? Are there enough places to go out? What's housing like? Those kinds of things.
Right, nice question. So actually in the first year, because this program is so huge, we would often have lectures in theater halls or, big halls. And so you can really see Amsterdam because you have to visit a lecture in a theater or basically visit different parts of Amsterdam. So you can really explore the city in that sense. And in the campus itself, in and around the campus, we have so many cafes that you can go to hang out or work on your group projects. So it is super lively. There are a lot of places to hang out. It is a bit expensive, but as long as you plan your finances and do budgeting, you will be fine.
And Sachi, one follow-up question about that. Did you get help in finding your housing?
Yeah. So we don't have on-campus housing, but UvA has tie-ups with housing corporations. So I was able to find housing from the university. Yes.
Okay, great. And I know you were here. Are you a third year? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you started then a few years ago. I don't want to give the false impression that we are able to offer housing for everyone, especially since our student enrollment at the UvA continues to increase each year. There is a department that will help and try and find international students housing, but housing is challenging in a compact city like Amsterdam, and some students are not able to get a placement through that department and are need to find housing on their own, which it can be challenging. So I just didn't want to give the too rosy a picture there, but I'm glad that they helped you, Sachi, and that and then Brent, could you tell us about your thoughts on that, about studying in Amsterdam, and is it affordable, places to go out, and the housing and things like that?
No, I completely agree with Sachi what she was saying. And personally, I am not living in Amsterdam, but the nice thing about the Netherlands and also Amsterdam is that the public transport is really good. So even if you live not maybe inside Amsterdam, but just a village outside of it, it's very easy to go to the university and it doesn't take long to travel. So that is also a really positive thing. And of course, Amsterdam is extremely international. So even as an international student, it's really easy to adapt to Amsterdam and the Netherlands in particular. So yeah, that's my opinion about it.
Yeah. But great to hear that you guys have both been enjoying your studies. And then we've had a lot of questions throughout this presentation about the third year. So again, I'll start with you, Sachi, and then ask you, Brent. Could you guys say what you did for your elective space and which specialization you chose and why, and what you're thinking about doing after you graduate?
Of course. So actually, I got into University of Washington from the Global Exchange Program. So I was supposed to go to Seattle, but of course, because of Corona, I couldn't. So I took courses virtually at the Foster School of Business. So it was a nice experience, at least meeting people from the States and working in groups. So of course, I made a lot of connections and just exploring an educational system outside of the Netherlands. So I think it really helps. And I'm sure by the time you come to third year, it's going to be open so you can travel and explore another country. And right now I am doing specialization in finance. I also mentioned about internship, right? So I was doing exchange as well as internship because my exchange was virtual. And internship, like I mentioned, was an amazing experience. I worked at Antler, which is a global early stage venture capital firm. So there are a lot of availabilities for internships, but you just need to know when to apply and how you can make your application really good. So there are career facilities, career support facilities at the university whom you can reach out if you want to look for internship, and they are super supportive in helping you in finding one.
Mhm. And a follow-up question, do you already know, Sachi, what you'll be doing after you graduate?
Oh yeah, so I might work for an year and then do masters. So
An ER? What's that?
sorry?
You would work for
Oh, I'm gonna work. I haven't decided which role or which company yet. But in the coming months, I will start applying, and I'm gonna take 1 year of work experience and then do masters.
Okay, that sounds excellent. Thank you. And Brent, yeah, what did you do for your third year for your elective space, and which specialization did you choose and why? And what are your plans for after graduation?
Yeah, so in the second year already was a bit of planning ahead for the third year. So I was looking already for an internship, and I preferred to do that internship in the United States. So I took some extra courses already in the second year, so I could fully enjoy my freedom in the third year. So because in the third year, I was supposed to go to New York to do an internship, but because of Corona, that was canceled, sadly. But it was really easy for me to find an internship in the Netherlands as well. So I did a 6 months internship at L'Oreal, which was really nice. And besides that, right now I'm doing also a specialization in finance. And my main reason for that was because I really enjoyed the course in the second year about finance. So I would really like to even go further with finance, and also the possibility for masters by studying the finance specialization are really big. So that were my main reasons why I wanted to do the finance specialization. And if I graduate, which I hope, of course, this year, I would like to do a master immediately after my third year. So I would like to do a master in management, probably.
All right, thank you. Yeah, really great to hear your guys' plans, what you chose and where you're headed. Yeah, thank you so much. And then I'll tell everybody about the next steps that they can take. If you, after hearing all of this information today, are thinking this might be a good study for you, then we recommend that you continue to explore our program and other programs online. It's a big decision which program to choose, and as a study advisor, I highly encourage you to get all the information that you can so that you can really make a good choice, end up with a study that's a good fit for you. We have an online experience day coming up on April 13th. You can already register for that through our open house webpage. So we encourage you to sign up for that. And if after all of that, you're still thinking this is a good program for you, then please apply starting in October. And then we'll take you to the last slide here. We are looking forward to seeing you soon. We want to thank you all for coming today. We're going to hang around here in the chat. So if you have additional questions, go ahead and type them in and we will answer them. But we're going to wrap up here, and we'll send you a link in the chat in just a moment. Again, you can find the recording of this session if you need to review it back. And we want to wish you a great day. Bye.